What's up, party people? It's your girl, Steph Lover.
Your boy, P. Stu.
And this is Hard Hats and High Heels, the podcast. Another episode.
Hey.
It's on, and today we have a very special guest. Oh, my God, I'm so giddy. We got Dave Mays in the building, founder of The Source Magazine.
Yay. Founder, creator, all of that.
He's a Harvard guy.
What's up, people?
What's up, Dave?
What's going on?
All right, first and foremost, Stu, I must say Dave got some black in him because he looks like a stellar 27, you know what I'm saying? Black don't crack.
You know, hip-hop keep you young, man.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But Dave, what is your nationality? Always, you're just not the random white guy, so, let's break it down.
Well, I'm Jewish. My family originally came from, like, Russia and Germany, Poland, stuff like that.
Oh, so you're an immigrant like the rest of us, huh? And fucking Donald, he don't like none of us, but hey. So let's just jump right into it. I mean, come on. You're like the guy that started The Source. Well, one of the guys.
I'm the guy.
Or you're the guy. You're the idea
Definitely
guy.
the guy.
Let's clear it up. You came up with the idea for The Source publication.
At Harvard, though, right?
I came up with the idea at Harvard and did the first issue of The Source myself. It was a newsletter.
Yep.
I had started a radio show on the college radio station there, and The Source was a newsletter for listeners to the radio show, and that also mailed out to the music industry down in New York.
And just so people could wrap their heads around what a newsletter is in 1988, it's not an email, it's not electronically transmitted, it's an actual thing, a piece of paper. He actually took the time to write it up, and then you had to actually physically mail it out or deliver it to dorm. How did you actually get it out?
It was mailed out,
basically U.S. postal mail, not email.
Exactly. I had a mailing list of my listeners to the radio show. It was called Street Beat. People would call in. I would take down their name and address. I had this mailing list, and I came up with the idea to give out news and information because people back then, especially, there was virtually no information available about hip hop anywhere. So they would always call in the radio station and want to know, when is the new Big Daddy Kane album coming out, or what's going on with Public Enemy, or this, that, and the other. And, so I would try to get little information from my contacts at the labels in New York as the college, radio DJ and stuff. And The Source came out of that mindset of giving information out to the people.
I mean, at this time, let's say 1988, when you started, hip-hop was relatively new. When did you become a hip-hop head? How did you become a hip-hop head?
I grew up actually here in Washington, D.C., so for those that know D.C., I grew up really listening to go-go music.
Go-go
rap
Dave.
Music made it down here.
Go-go Dave!
That was my radio name in Boston at Harvard in college.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Go-go Dave, yeah. That's how everybody in Boston knows me. They know me as Go-go Dave because I was the host of Street Beat, Go-go Dave. But rap music still got play on the radio down here. So, I remember hearing Rapper's Delight when I was in maybe 5th or 6th grade on the radio and, running around the playground, rapping all the lyrics. And, I just kind of had got into what rap made it. Curtis Blow, there was, different songs like that would get played on the radio. Even still, while I got much more, into kind of go-go and that scene.
Because they was rapping in go-go. Go-go was pretty much call and response and a little bit of rapping involved as well.
Yeah, go-go kind of started as top 40 cover bands. We just had this conversation. So go-go was, as it emerged and as hip-hop emerged, they started covering hip-hop. That's what go-go bands would do. Yeah,
True.
Definitely.
And then you took that love with you to Harvard. Was there a big hip-hop scene at Harvard? I imagine not.
Not at Harvard, no. This radio station played classical music, we convinced them to give, an hour to do, hip-hop and go-go, which got phased out pretty soon. I was playing go-go in Boston.
We tried to take it national.
Boston, it has a pretty good hip-hop fan base up there,
To this day.
Yeah, it's still a good hip hop, consumer, market. And so, my listeners were kids in the Boston area that were listening to college radio to hear, try to hear hip hop, which was the only place you could hear, most hip hop music at the time. So,
And then the newsletter, I actually remember seeing the newsletter and thinking, what the hell is this? Like, you know what I mean? Because no social media, no emailing, no nothing, to actually physically be reading, about this music genre was mind-blowing at the time. I do remember that. How many newsletters were in circulation?
The very first one was like 1,000. 1,000 copies mailed out, and
this is 1988.
1988.
And it grew quickly. The next one was 6 pages and went to 16 pages, and then I started building a distribution in record stores. So that's how people really started to find out about it around the country. I just started shipping out boxes to mom and pop record stores in all the different cities. So from DC to Atlanta to Chicago.
And you doing this all by yourself?
Yeah.
When did you know it was a thing? I mean, obviously it kept growing, but when did you kind of realize, yo, this could be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, like you said, it just kind of kept growing, and it kind of always stayed that way for me as I kept going. Like my vision kept, growing of what I was doing. And in the beginning, it went from, newsletter into, I read a book about Rolling Stone magazine, and I sort of visioned and modeled the Source as a Rolling Stone magazine.
I always thought you did. You just confirmed that. Thank you very much.
But shortly after that, within a couple of years, once I started doing stuff like the Source Awards, the very first one was 91. It became more about the brand and about diversifying. So it was more like I'm trying to build the Time Warner of hip hop.
Right.
And, back then Time Warner was like a huge multimedia company that did movies, TV shows, magazines, every different type of media and entertainment. And that was sort of the direction I started to go. So it just kept growing and growing and growing, and I just, and
the correlation to the Rolling Stones is important because, like I always say, like Dave said, we didn't have a media outlet in hip hop for our culture.
He didn't write about hip hop at all.
That was from our culture. You had to get it if the Rolling Stone or somebody would cover it, and from their perspective. So we didn't. So it was very important what Dave did and what the Source was bringing to hip hop culture, having a media outlet that was for and from us. You know what I'm saying? So that I was. Without
let me
that,
stop you there.
hip hop might not have gotten to where it was.
You said for and from us.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of backlash from you being like a white guy doing this predominantly black music? I could imagine everybody wasn't so happy once they realized who was in back of it.
In the beginning days, in the earliest days, probably the late '80s and first couple of years, remember that was when Public Enemy had come out. It was a kind of very pro-black time in hip hop.
Fear of Black Planet, all that.
So there were those
Fight
issues
the power.
that started to get raised, whether it was different people in the industry or whoever that might have said that. But, really what happened very fast, it's like, the product spoke for itself. And, people respected the Source because of what the content of the magazine was. And like you said, there was nothing like it. And as it kept growing and growing, it was getting better and better. It was intelligent. It was thoughtful. It was, responsible socially, politically, musically.
And it was ours.
It
was something that everybody could relate to. It didn't use big words like, Rolling Stone. I remember actually, with a high school, early college education being immersed in it because I got it. Like, it spoke to me. What did your parents think? Because you went to Harvard, and I know they was expecting a doctor or a lawyer. I mean, when you was like, I'm going to do this hip-hop thing, they was like...
Newsletter.
What?
There was a little bit of that. I mean, you're right. At first, they were wondering, why are you at Harvard doing this, hip-hop, radio show and magazine and, that sort of thing. But they always supported me in everything I did. I had always been entrepreneurial as a, young person growing up here. And that's also part of the D.C. aspect of it, just the hustle and kind of growing up in the 80s here and, seeing, all these, young people.
Lesson. Support your kids, whatever they're doing. It might seem weird right now, but 20 years from now, when you're like, that wasn't a bad investment, just encouraging your kids and stuff like that.
Sure.
So we're in Boston now. How did you meet Benzino? Where did that relationship start at?
Well, he had a rap group in Boston, and at that time in the mid to late '80s, and they were kind of like the hottest group in Boston. They were called the Almighty RSO.
The Almighty RSO.
And they had won an award in like the Boston Music Awards, and I think I read about them actually. I heard about them, and I went out to one of their shows to meet them because I wanted to get them to come down and, you know, like come up to my radio show. I would bring up, you know, a lot of the local talent and stuff. So that's how we met, and you know, I started just kind of like trying to help them with the group and kind of managing the group and help them get a few record deals and, you know, things like that.
Now, for years and years, from what I recall, nobody knew that Benzino was kind of part of The Source. Was that, you know, you guys thinking going into it that, you know, you're the founder, you're the creator, and even though you played the back a lot too, but I don't think nobody ever really knew how involved Benzino was with the magazine until later on.
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, in the beginning, it was me, and I had some other partners at Harvard that came on with me, some 2 other Harvard students, undergraduates, and another guy from law school. Those were really my partners for maybe the first 6 or 7 years with The Source. Benzino and I were working together on, you know, his music, and we were friends.
Oh, wow.
He started to get more involved in The Source, you know, later on into the mid-'90s, and started helping me with, you know, like the music compilations and some of the other brand things, and, you know, really just getting more involved with the company. I kind of brought him in to it at that point. So, and like you said, I was always a very behind-the-scenes type of person. You know, that was just, you know, me.
Yo, you was when I was on Hot 97 trying to get an interview with you, it was like pulling teeth, yo. We never got it. Like, we never got it. Like, we used every trick, angle, guilt shit, bait
crazy.
switch operation, and you was always like, thanks. You know, the work speaks for itself. And we was like, all right.
So do you think like maybe the climax or the pinnacle of Benzino's involvement with The Source came publicly to a head, like with the what was it the New Year cover when we did the 4, Source did the 4 covers and Benzino was actually on the cover?
I found out because I think he
ones-
got locked up in Miami, and then he was saying, well, I'm the owner of The Source. That's when it was, for me.
Yeah,
that's when
it
everybody
was
like,
out. By the
"Oh."
time the cover happened, it was out. You know, it was definitely clear that Benzino was involved. But then I think the cover was like,
come on.
that was what I think was like the ruffling of feathers. People were like, how you know, part owner or, you know, part of The Source, and you go
And
put
you on the
yourself on
cover.
the cover.
Conflict
Like,
of
that's not
interest,
responsible. We're not responsible. Do you think that had anything to do with, you know, where the brand headed at that time, or?
I mean, I think, you know, looking back, you know, on everything, you know, you can always see things that could have been done better or differently. You know, I know on my part, you know, I've thought about a lot of things I could have done better or differently. You know, I'm sure he has as well. You know, I think a lot of things went into, you know, what happened with The Source and myself and eventually losing the company. It's a very, you know, a lot of different factors you know, that went into that.
Yeah.
You know, I invested very heavily into the internet in the very early days of, you know, the .coms.
You're an innovator, Dave. Like, gotta give you that, kid. Like, you was an innovator, visionary. I mean,
well, I saw it in a sense, but that's really where I made the biggest mistake, because I kind of bet the farm on the internet and like.
How so?
Well, that's how I got the money to start the .com, and everything was borrowing money against the magazine. I mortgaged the magazine company to get the money. Went out
which
there.
Which is business. That's business. You know, that's what you do in business.
Spent it. Did all this stuff with thesource.com.
I mean,
and of course,
if you make the shot, it's a great
didn't make
shot.
a lot of money in the beginning, and even still to this day, it's been very difficult for people to make money in .coms. Only a few do. But you know, I was like, early on, got hit with that. And that's what put the company in debt. And one thing, you know, led to another. Eventually, you know, along with a variety of other factors.
A variety of other factors. I think when it was kind of confirmed that Benzino was, involved in ownership, I think it hurt the credibility of the source a little bit because, now it's common. You use your platform to push your agenda or whatever. Back then, the source was the Bible. That's really how we saw it, was like, oh, everything in here is solid gold. Like, if you got 4, stars or mics, oh shit, that album is fire. But if you got 2 mics, your album didn't move. And then I think,
really,
yeah, when it was, kind of to the point where Benzino was involved with maybe or maybe not, messing with the mics, people started feeling like maybe, it wasn't as genuine. Do you think that, that hurt y'all a little bit? Like, at that time? Because now it's common practice. This is our platform. We're going to push all of our shit. But back then, I don't think it was as prevalent.
True. I think, again, there was so much, that was one of the feelings that people had out there. There's no question that there were.
Were you guys aware of that?
People, yeah, I think to an extent, and, certainly in retrospect, but, like there was so many things going on in those last number of years. The company was being investigated by the FBI at that time.
Really?
I had.
When is the date? When is this documentary coming out?
CFO of my company wearing a wire inside the source offices. It comes out. Years later.
Yeah, I remember. That's the guy with the ponytail, right? Isn't that the guy?
Somebody was wearing a wire? Get the fuck.
That was the white guy with the ponytail, right?
He didn't have a ponytail, but he was white.
Oh, I got that part right.
But there was a lot of things. I had private equity investors that I had brought in after I kind of had bet the money on the internet. I brought in private equity investors, and they were kind of like sort of devious in some of what they were trying to do with the company. And
trying to pull a rug, boy. They
we need the documentary.
So it was a whole confluence of things. And,
we need the tour.
The true story will eventually be told. That's one of the goals of Dave Mays Media is to get to my true story.
Transition.
Out there,
transition.
Sure.
Well, before we transition into that, I gotta tell you how I met you.
Okay.
So y'all ready for story time? Here we go. Story time with Dave Mays. So I was at.
Can you give him like the title of the story? So
I gave him the prefix, more or less. Okay, so I was at Howard University, and a good friend of mine named Elle. I don't want to blow her off because she's married with kids now. Okay. My friend Elle, I was on the hip hop scene. Tracy Lee was at Howard. We were all kind of, emerged together. She was a Philly girl. She knew Tracy Lee. We kind of all knew each other. And she was like, hey, I met this guy from New York. And, he invited me up to New York. You want to come? She didn't want to go by herself. So I was like, oh shit, free trip to New York? Yeah. We took the train up to New York random one day. You know how spontaneous you are in college. We go up on the train. You guys come and meet us. You and Dave meet us at the train station. Now, mind you, I look very different. I was super hip-hopped out. Like, I'm B-girl status. I'm a year removed from the corner. I'm at Howard. So they pick us up. I forgot what we did, but it was probably smoking, drinking. There was a whole bunch of that shit going on. Then we go back to, I guess, Benzino's house. What I remember is we pulled in the parking lot. We pulled in like something, and it took us up to the apartment. The gate opened. We left the car and walked into whoever's living room. Do you remember that apartment? I think it was Jersey, I want to say. I don't know where we were. Again, I'm happy to be in New York on a freebie. So, obviously, my homegirl, she's with Benzino.
Is this sounding familiar to you? Is it coming
back to you?
A little bit. Okay,
so my homegirl is in there, Benzino, the night goes on, and
I want to know what the end is here.
They skirt
how
off
this night ends.
to the room over here. So it's just me and Dave. We're kind of just sitting there drinking, whatever's going on. Then it's time to go to sleep. There's only one other room. So we slept together. Literally, it was kind of the brother-sister thing, but we actually was sleeping next, and I remember like, oh my God, if I feel something on my back, this is gonna be so fucking awkward. And then I was just Because I'll be honest, I wasn't into white guys. You
So
know,
the title of this story is
I was just kind of there
that
for the
time
homie, you know.
And Dave Mays slept with Steph Lover.
That was it. A total gentleman. Didn't try anything. We actually slept back to back. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Didn't try anything. Then the next day I'm like, damn, am I ugly? He didn't even try. Shit, what the hell?
This is good. You could go. You could go
shit.
tell your girl like, yo, listen to the podcast I did with Steph, and she talks about the time we slept together.
Right.
Just leave it at that. Just leave it at that.
That's
And
gonna be
then
the
let her hear
promo.
it.
That one time I slept with Dave Mays.
That's the problem. That might be the promo on the headline.
It's gonna go viral, baby.
It'll be on after that.
We need to
Oh, man.
clickbait.
Yo, man.
And that was it. And you were nothing but gracious. And then the
knew
next
you were gonna
time I
embarrass me.
saw you, but the next time I saw you, Dave, I was on the morning show on Hot 97, and at the time I was a Howard student. So now I'm quote unquote somebody. So I feel like, yo, I'm gonna go up to Dave Mays and be like, what's up? So I did. I came up to you and I was like, what's up? You don't remember me after all we slept together. You know, I'm an asshole at this point. And you were just kind of like,
Huh?
and I think it was with your girl. You looked at me kind of like, what the
My
the
racing.
fuck? But you didn't say anything because I think I was probably with Ed Love or whatever, you know.
Right.
And you were so gracious again. So, but that was it. That was my story time, David.
man.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And you remember it?
It was worth it. You know, we don't remember it all the time. You know,
If
we
he
don't
didn't
remember
I'm
all
like,
the
damn,
women
maybe
we
I
slept with.
should've
You
given
know what I'm saying?
Something. He didn't remember me and shit. But but that was my introduction to you. And for all these years later, yo, I haven't.
You can tell me later if you remember the story
like,
differently.
yeah, he's just saying
She
that
left
just
out
to
some
be nice and
details.
shit. But I mean, you haven't changed much from then to now as far as your persona. And I remember it being a time when, I mean, top of the food chain. If you was in the Source, if you got 5 mics in the Source, shit, your album was guaranteed to go platinum. It was that simple. You know, I mean, your album was a classic if you got 5 mics, because those mics was stingy at that point. But
Yep.
when you guys got, lost the Source, and then
See, that was my problem when
the lawsuit with Kim was crazy.
The-
I got subpoenaed for that shit.
Really?
I got some fucking subpoenaed.
with
for
Kim
that.
Osario.
I got subpoenaed because me and we were doing rock radio at the time with Dame Dash, and I don't even want to say this guy's name, but somebody that was filming at the time had, Kim was up there, we were doing an episode or whatever. Kanye was actually on that show. It's so crazy I have the pictures. And he tried to sell that footage to prove that Kim, was relaxed and she didn't care about being called a bitch or, that kind of thing. And I got subpoenaed. I was pregnant. I remember calling Kim like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, you dragging me in this shit. I'm pregnant. And then when she explained it to me, like, yo, I'm suing them, I was like, yo, Ma, listen. I don't know what happened with the footage. I wound up not having to go in because I think the feds just seized the footage. He was trying to sell it, and they seized it, and whatever happened, with that case, she won some money, but I don't think she won $7.5 million. They said.
No.
That's nowhere near.
She don't seem like she got 7.5.
She got some coins out of that,
I was
though.
joking.
She. I remember she got
But
some
stuff
coins
happens,
out of that.
My thing was when with the take, when with the Source transition to new ownership and stuff like that, I felt like, especially hindsight, looking back, like the new ownership wasn't about the culture.
No.
And it wasn't about.
It was a money play.
It's not. Yeah, it was all business, all a money play, and you see the results of when you do something for that and not for the culture, especially with hip hop, because you see where it's at now.
But that's the thing that always, we talked about a little earlier, to me is one of the defining things of the Source, legacy, while I was there, and what I hope will, define my career, going forward as well, is just, understanding and, like committing to the culture, like, doing it for the culture, business and, as a part of it. Everybody wants to make money. We all need money. It's great to have money, but, it's a culture that is, beyond just money is a culture that was and should be, and hopefully will still be, about empowerment, socially, politically, intellectually, all of those things. And that's what the Source stood for, and in a lot of ways provided for hip hop, was a real kind of leader and voice and barometer of the culture that in a lot of ways, just with media and what's going on with, the digital world and, social media and everything, there really isn't, a defining, leadership place. And in a lot of ways, hip hop, the culture has sort of gotten diffused. But we're at an exciting time now with this whole digital revolution going on, and it's a time where really everything, the whole hip hop movement can really take over beyond what you would see today as being hip hop being so successful all over the world and everything it represents.
Pop culture is hip hop right now. I never thought it would move into that space because it was our little ghetto thing. I mean, 50 Cent with John Travolta the other day. It be pairings like that, Snoop and Martha Stewart. But they have a lot more in common than you think. Snoop ain't never went to jail, Martha did a bit. Like, who would think those two dynamics would flip? And Dave, believe it or not, dude, you had a lot to do with that. Like, I keep saying that in a sense that your vision, that one little newsletter, you know what I mean? Like, look at all of this shit now. Like, you can't go anywhere without hip-hop's influence. And it started by you opening that gate. I have to give you those kudos.
Got you.
Because, had there not been no Source, would there have been a XXL? Would
That's
there
a
have been a
legitimate
Vibe?
question.
Would there have been a
That's a legitimate
yada,
question.
yada,
Would hip hop be as big as it is right now?
Yes.
Would
They
it
thought
be as
hip hop was going to be
mainstream?
what? 2,
Fizzle
3
out.
years. A Rubik's Cube or some shit like that.
Fizzle out. They just come and go, but it's here to stay, and it's bigger than ever and still growing, and it's 30 years later. It's 30-year anniversary of the...
Wait, before we get to that, Stu, I don't want to
creation
jump.
of the Source.
Because I want to talk a little bit about how y'all came up with the idea of Hip Hop Weekly, because that was brilliant. That was brilliant in a sense that, again, there was nothing like that. I mean, all these Us Weeklies and all these fluff, celebrity-driven magazines.
No hip hop.
All they would post is when a rapper got locked up, got shot, or killed. That was the coverage of hip hop in those kind of weeklies, and then you guys, boom, and I remember there was a concerted effort a little bit to keep y'all down. Did you feel like that before y'all came out with Hip Hop Weekly? It was like, the Source, y'all had turned into this monster that people felt like, oh my God, we're not getting a fair shake with the mics and the this and that. So we got to keep them, from being this thing again.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, the whole last, again, several years with me at the Source and all the stuff that went on with the, the lawsuits, the financial stuff, the federal investigations.
Feds with the wire, you fucked me up with that, kid.
Yeah.
That movie is going to be amazing.
Yeah. all of that,
I might could play Benzino or something if I cut.
I see, what's this dude named Jake Gyllenhaal playing him, right? Like there it is.
Oh, now I done forgot the question.
Hip Hop Weekly, how did that
the
come
Hip Hop
about?
Weekly thing. I mean, basically, there was just, like you said, there was nothing like it. There was a whole category of magazines like Us Weekly, People, all those ones you saw.
Were you guys plotting to get back in at some point?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, the way that the whole thing went down, the Source was basically, I was ousted from the Source, even though at the time I still owned 82% of the stock of the company, which is a whole another story.
Man.
So it was
Harvard.
essentially, the Source was kind of wrested away, taken from me. So yeah,
You like the Steve Jobs of hip hop, man.
Yo, Stu, that's
You
an
like the
ill
Steve Jobs of
analogy.
hip hop right now,
shit,
man.
because he did get ousted out of his own.
Yeah, he got it back.
Wow,
but,
he got it back.
But that's Dave. I'm looking forward to Dave Mays Media, definitely.
So Hip Hop Weekly was just a different approach to getting back into the media space in a magazine form. At the time, I think magazines were still, somewhat relevant in 2006 when Hip Hop Weekly got started, and it was an approach to getting back in that would be different, that was faster, more celebrity oriented. The culture, had become more celebrity, oriented. So it made sense as a format to kind of get back in. But, print ultimately, has just, it's pretty much died.
Digital age, baby.
I don't think it'll be, gone forever, but obviously it's about digital and about visual video as well, in particular now. So that's really what I'm looking at with Dave Mays Media, is coming at this whole hip hop culture and
so Hip Hop
space.
Weekly is a wrap.
Well, it still exists. There's some other people that kind of took it over. I left Hip Hop Weekly about a year and a half ago.
That's why it's been some shit ever since. I was wondering, like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? They used to be at the Exclusivo shit. Now it's just some shit. Now it's like, screenshots of Instagrams and, hey, man, whatever. Speak the truth. It is what it is, Dave. Yeah. And that's even before you even just said that. Like, it was just kind of like, let's break up with some weed on this magazine at this point. Like, it kind of lost, again, the sauce, like, you know what I mean? It lost the juice that was involved in it. You know what I mean? Yep. You have a great ability to kind of, whether you got ousted or you left, like, your time is impeccable, I would say.
Oh, well, thank you. So hopefully, we're set for the final act, or one of the final acts right now, right here in Washington, D.C., my hometown.
But before we get to the final act, I want to know, how are you and Benzino? Are you guys still good? Like, I know at one point you guys were pretty intertwined in a lot of business, a lot of, I don't know y'all personally, besides my little personal experience in the beginning. But how are you guys now?
We're both just, doing our own thing. I'm doing my thing. He's doing his thing. So,
No love of hip hop?
It just, for me, I just really wanted to kind of get back to, where I was, like when I started, when I started The Source, it was me. I did it off my own thoughts, my own instincts, everything. And a lot of people, contributed to The Source over the years, no question. Many great people that were involved. But, it was my idea. I started it. I kind of, drove the vision for it for many years. So I just wanted to kind of get to a place and a space where I could try to bring that back again.
That's Dave Mays Media.
In a fresh way, yeah. And finally, like, let my voice and my story and everything.
You ready to talk, Dave? Yeah. Dave ready to speak up, baby. We only had to wait 30 years. Better late than never. So let's hear it, Dave Mays Media. What is it going to be? Well, what is it? Because it is a thing. It's just they haven't experienced it yet, but we know it's a thing.
Sure, it's really a lot of different things coming, but I'm looking at things in all areas of content, as far as documentaries, movies, television shows. I have different projects in development now in those areas, some event-based things. And ultimately, kind of more in the branded media, I guess distribution, media platform type of space.
Thinking about another magazine, Dave?
Not a magazine, no.
But,
like I said,
something.
Not print, but something that's digital based. So it's a bunch of stuff, and Dave Mays Media is kind of like the umbrella company for a lot of the ventures. So hopefully over the next few months, I'll start to announce some of the things. And I'm here in Washington D.C. Right now, which I think
where it all started,
is where I started, and the city's changed a tremendous amount. And I think
that's an underestimation.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great time right now for the city. It has a bright future, and as far as hip hop and entertainment and everything, there's a lot going on here, a lot of talent here, and a lot going on kind of culturally and musically that can be kind of brought together and brought to the center of some things. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
And it's your 30th year. You created this thing, the Hip Hop Bible, as it was so affectionately called for years and years. You created this thing, and 30 years later, is there going to be a celebration of some sort legally? Can you do anything? What can you do? Well, what can we expect? Are you going to do something?
Well, for me, it's an anniversary. It's a 30
It's
years
your legacy,
of
They
me
can't
creating
just
the
erase
source.
that.
So I do have
Like Thanos.
I do have some plans and things to do to celebrate that. I don't own the source anymore. I'm not affiliated to the source as it exists today,
Which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
So it won't be, something directly involving the source, but as far as just the legacy of what I've contributed to hip hop over the past 30 years, what I've kind of stood for in terms of, media and ownership and independence and culture and things like that. So hopefully we'll have something nice later this year to celebrate.
Beautiful.
That. Yeah.
Stu, you want to add in?
Oh man, no, you said it all. That's everything. That's 30 years. The print. I was gonna ask, how he felt about the state of print, media today, but he answered that. And
yeah, because like now, I was up at the Source a couple of months ago, and they put out a like once every 3 months or something like that. The magazine is probably like this thin now. It's like I don't even know why they put it out. They just put it online and like kind of call it a day. And when I look back, I'm like, damn, like the Source, the name, the brand is still, worldwide, but its impact.
we never get you anticipate those covers anymore. We never get to anticipate the mic ratings. We never get
the last cover I saw was like the
I
Breakfast
think
Club. I
like
was
everybody
come on.
that ever touched unsigned hype in the heydays of the Source turned out to be somebody. Biggie was unsigned hype. Eminem unsigned hype.
Common.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just the place that it has in hip hop history. Is undeniable. It's probably won't be repeated, but there are new things on the horizon, for Dave Mays Media, and for hip hop, and more contributions for the culture on the way. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. That I feel good about that, because I'm sitting here thinking about Source Awards and Suge Knight.
Stu, I love you for that. I was just thinking the Source
You want to
Awards,
be on a label with an executive producer ain't all up in your
wait a minute.
video,
Before we have
dancing.
to touch on that. Thank you, Stu.
Come on,
I know it was
man.
something
Like,
I was missing.
Come on, man.
Where were you when that moment happened?
And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Where were you in the context of?
Were you backstage?
Were you
like,
in
what
the building?
hell?
Yeah, give me. Put us in there.
Well, first of all, just so people know, I mean, I organized that event. That was my event. I'm the one that put it together. I'm the one that invited Suge and dealt with him and all the other labels and, Puff and everybody who was involved in there that night. A lot of that was based on the relationships I had with these folks. And Suge really was responsible for making that show such a big, important show from the standpoint that he committed really early on to bringing in that huge set that they performed in opening the show. They had all their artists.
Iconic.
They flew
whole,
like
the whole Death Row.
It was the whole Death Row.
Flew like 70, 80
In
people
real
out
life.
from L.A., spent over $100,000
Bloods.
on the production of
All the
of
Bloods
set.
with 'em.
And, that
was so
production
beautiful.
value alone is like, worth a lot to a first-year TV show. And a lot of, other artists and labels supported as well, but he was really one of the, the really key ones that set it off. But when that happened, I think at the moment, I'm typically on all the awards, I'm like all over the place, moving around. I'm out in the audience checking it out. I'm backstage. I'm in the trailers. I'm on the side of the stage. I'm all over just trying to keep track, make sure everything's good. So I think at that moment I was actually in the audience or in the back part of the auditorium, when that happened. And it was definitely, sort of an uproar in the crowd. And I think when he came off the stage, it was like, they ended up kind of rushing into the backstage area. Suge and a lot of his people all came up out of the seats and went backstage, and I ended up going back there just to, kind of make sure everything was cool. And, nothing happened that night. There was no violence.
No, but that was, in hindsight, that was kind of like the
starting point. That was
it had already started behind the scenes, I think, some of the friction and tension, but I think that was the public, sword drawn. It's on.
Because you remember Snoop came up right after that.
Yeah, y'all don't got no love for the West Coast? Y'all got no love for Snoop Dogg? All of that. And then even Outkast, the South, we here.
Yeah.
We here. That was the arrival of the South.
Yeah, because the South had been denied for so long.
Because it was New York. And I think that was even part of the friction with the New York West Coast thing, because New York was, was so New York for so long, not even
but that
long.
Also, that speaks to the source and how, we went about things was to bring all those people together. I didn't have a problem. I wanted that, and I knew, New York was very New York, pro-New York, so having, Outkast and Death Row there and everybody, but that was the whole goal, was to bring the culture to, together. And it was, it was.
Well, I guess it was had to destroy and rebuild, because from there.
Well, really, where things got real was like a month or so later down in Atlanta, when Suge's man, Jake, God rest the dead, got killed.
Yeah.
That's really, to me.
Yeah, when people start dying is when it always gets
started
real.
Getting serious as far as any kind of beef between Death Row and Bad Boy.
Yeah, and then Snoop came through and crushed the buildings, and it was it was.
I was working at Hot 97 at the time, and I remember, I don't kind of vividly that people saying, "Yo, they over there on so and so and so, y'all gonna let them?" And then they shot up the set. It was like when shit like that started happening. Right. I was like, oh, damn, this is kind of, this is getting dangerous.
That started kind of the wave of what you hear about, you might hear about, you might not, but for especially New York rappers, when they go to the West Coast, they got to pay that tax. That started, after that, New York, during that time, you couldn't come out to L.A. and run around, and that was the issue. Big did it, and God bless the dead. His situation happened. Pac's situation happened. Pac's situation might have happened regardless of the East Coast, West Coast. Mm-hmm. We don't know, because we still don't even know. We don't know. We could speculate all day based on the information that's out there and what happened, but we still don't really know. But the original point, I guess, is just how undeniably the source is in part of hip hop culture and part of covering hip hop and reporting hip hop responsibly to the rest of the world. And I think that is the main component of why hip hop is so big.
You guys gave a balanced view. I do remember that. I do remember that Vibe cover, and it was like East and West Coast beef, and it was like, what are you talking about? It ain't even like that. They made it like that, and you guys were kind of like the voice of reason, kind of giving both sides, this is where we're at, But what is your favorite moment in the 30 years of the source? Give me your highlight. I'm gonna say your low is probably losing it, and kind of it being, you being ousted. But what was that moment when you was like, holy shit, from a newsletter to, what?
It was so many, great moments along the way. It's hard to pick one, and like I said, it was just constantly growing for me. So, moving to New York, getting out of college was huge, and being able to set up my first, small office on Broadway, Soho in Manhattan, that was big. Getting leasing my first car through the company. That
working
first
them loopholes.
Those first Source Rewards. At the first one, even before that, was a year before, that wasn't televised. That Tupac was there. That was but there was 5,000-6,000 people there at the theater in Madison Square Garden. That was a big accomplishment. Getting it onto network television in '99 when we got the UPN deal to put the Source Awards on network TV.
I was there.
Source Sound.
That was LA.
I auditioned for that, yo. I auditioned for that. That was huge.
That's one of my moments, memories. Source Awards, LA. Me, P. We all out there.
We was out there.
They gave out the the two ways. You remember y'all gave out two ways.
James
the
Cruz, thank you, James Cruz.
with like 6 months free service, but I think the 6 months ended up going like
2 years,
like lifetime. Like we beaming.
James Cruz, baby.
And I remember my man Zulu, the Big Lip Bandit, battled Eminem. Dre had this big ass party at the Playboy Mansion during the whole. It was like a whole like basically week of festivities.
We asked you your moments and we telling you ours because we had so many of those.
Dre threw this big ass party at the Playboy Mansion. We go there, they giving you tours of the Playboy Mansion and shit is crazy. But out back, everybody smoking and Eminem and ciphers forming and next thing you know, Zulu stepped to Eminem and just start rapping. Eminem killed him. Eminem said like one line I kind of remember. He was like, "Yo, who's this guy behind me? All up in my ear talking about Dr. Dre, please sign me, sign me."
Shit.
I was like, "Oh,
it's over.
It's over."
So Stu, you with that guy? No.
I just met him.
That kind of shit. I remember being at the Source Awards.
Sorry, my last Source Awards '99 memory was that's Ludacris's first Source Awards as an artist. Ludacris is a radio personality.
Him and Lala.
So that was What's Your Fantasy had just came out, his first single. He was there as an artist. My boy from Jersey cut his hair, but he was there as an artist. We there as radio, looking at him like, damn, that's what we was.
We was just doing that.
We was supposed to be
and now I'm piggybacking on that because that was the year me, Lala, and Eve went, and I remember that. And I remember that was the year that a scuffle happened in the audience, like E40 and some shit.
That was the next year.
That was the next. That was the year I was there, and I just remember like my vivid memory of that is like just us. Like Allen Iverson was. It was just like so many. You know how you be like, holy shit! Like this is a thing. Like, and then that happened, and then the awards continued. That was just like, oh, that was nothing. Nobody got killed. We're good. Like let's continue on.
I think Shaq got robbed. 99 Source Awards in LA.
Chris Webber.
Yeah, Chris Webber. I think a couple of them ball players got them chains took that
not
weekend.
At the Source Awards.
Not at the awards. In LA. Because they was, it's 99. It still wasn't like
that's
all the
Clinton
way
era, baby.
over from the Biggie, Pac era. Like this is, Biggie and Pac been passed for 2-3 years now, but it wasn't over. Like it was still a lot of LA cats was like, y'all not finna be coming out here LA with all this money flashing on us and all. Nah, let me get that shit.
Nah.
C-Web, let me get that chain. Let me holler. We ain't gonna kill y'all because y'all too popular, but let me get that.
But do you feel the love, Dave? I want you to feel the love because it's your interview, but me and Stu just heisted your shit because like for us that to be able to go out to the Source Awards to cover it, shit, that was what I mean. That was like cherry on top for us. Like wow, we out here, we media. When really we fans. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad IG wasn't there back then, but man. I kind of wish it was. Like I'm glad it wasn't because that would have diluted. Social media, internet has kind of like diluted. The star power a little bit of hip hop. Everybody's so accessible through social media. But back then, you had to be at an event like the Source Awards or to really get it like all in one place like that.
Piggyback on that real quick right as we wrap this up. How do you feel now about the state of hip hop? Everybody goes so hard on the quote unquote the mumble rappers, the younger guys. What do you think? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, generally, as far as the mumble rap, to me, I like a lot of the newer, younger artists. Migos, I've been liking their music, and I think they got skills. A lot of them, it's a different style or whatever, but if you actually, can get into what they're saying, there's
I think that's the hard part.
Content.
You can't understand what they're saying.
I don't even think mumble rap is real. I just think that it's a Southern dialect with some of the younger Southern cats, and it just comes across as, especially for like us Northern cats, sometimes we can't understand the dialect, but it's not really mumble, it's just how they talk.
Like, are you hearing Laurel? Or you're hearing...
I think that's one of the things. Hip hop always sort of, kind of goes towards the newest, freshest, youngest thing. It's gone through its cycles. But one of the things also is that I feel like, hip hop as a culture, I was saying earlier, the culture has sort of gotten chipped off, and the music has become the more prominent in the business of music, and it is about business and money for a lot of people, and that's great. But I think that where we're at now is actually really, really exciting time, in particular because the field is open, and labels don't have as much power. Radio and traditional radio and major record labels, kind of like took over hip hop in the late 90s and really were dictating the direction of it, who got signed, who didn't.
Who
and
went
now
on
with,
tour,
with
all
social
of that.
media and
back in the power
digital
of the
and
people.
everything, it's coming back to the people. And, the biggest thing to me is, we just have to hope to be able to get the message out to a lot of the people getting into the business, that you can own and control a lot more of this music and ultimately this culture if we do it smarter this time. And you don't always need, a major label. You don't always need these things. So, people like Chance the Rapper who are showing you how to do things independently and completely. Young Dolph is another one, who, nobody can tell him at the end of the day what to say, what to do. And ultimately that, I think is a big part of what hip hop needs is needs its independence and its ownership and control over things.
Real rap.
So hopefully that's what can come out of this digital, opportunity that's out here now.
Well, Dave, we're looking forward to whatever you serving. I'm at the table.
We
at the
buying.
table.
Whatever
we
you
buying.
selling, we buying.
Because, your track record is phenomenal. I mean, everybody's had a little roller coaster ride, and it's the hip hop thing, ups and downs and whatnot. But I think what's amazing about hip hop is the fact that, we're all still kind of here. Like, you still love it. I feel the passion. Like, you still love it.
We can contribute.
Yeah.
And that's what you just said, Phil. Being around Dave for a little bit, you feel the passion, you feel the
I would be bitter.
authenticity.
Listen, I would be like, these
It's real.
motherfuckers
He's
took
real.
X, Y, and Z, but I don't get that from you.
But even if he is that, it's like he still is like, okay, there's still the hip hop culture that needs contributing to, so let's contribute. Like, regardless of those whatever hiccups and obstacles in my past, hip hop still needs contributing to, so let's contribute. You know what I'm saying? And you feel the authenticity of that being around Dave for a little bit. So that's real.
Are you on social media?
Yeah, I am, and I got to do a better job of it. But I'm at the Real Dave Mays. The Real Dave Mays.
Still going to the head.
On Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. I don't really mess with Twitter, but Instagram, the Real Dave Mays.
The Real Dave Mays.
Yeah, and more to come. I have Dave Mays Media also on Instagram, but I'm not posting.
We're looking forward to it before the year is out. Something amazing is going to happen.
I worked for The Source for a little bit, so I hope I'm in the documentary. I know it was just a little bit, but I was there.
Look, I smoked weed at The Source. In the back.
It wasn't even like the real.
They had Stu, you ever smoked there? Like, they had a whole back room on the staircase shit.
I wasn't going out.
I used to literally get off the air, go over there, park my shit. My agent was right at the block. I go see my agent, then I come see Kim Osorio. And burn it down.
Okay, my memory is before 5 p.m. you had to go out on the fire escape.
Yes, and then after
5 p.m. you could smoke in the conference room or at your desk.
In the conference room.
New York is big on weed delivery. The weed delivery guys would come up there and just come to your desk what you need. But I don't know if that actually happened or not.
That doc is going to be amazing. Can you please make that the first?
That's the first
project. The Dave Mays doc. I mean, Jake, we need you, Jake. So thanks again, Dave. We appreciate you come sitting down with us. We're looking forward to all the things that you're doing, Dave Mays Media, and you got our support.
Definitely.
You know what it is? Hard hats and high heels.